The Alfie Whattam podcast.
Hey, this podcast is brought to you by WeLoveAlpha.com. If you're looking to grow and hire and scale your software engineering team in the UK, then go to WeLoveAlpha.com to hire the best software developers on the market. Everything across Java to C# to PHP to Python to React and Angular and mobile and more. Go to WeLoveAlpha.com to hire the best software engineers in the UK now. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 99. We're almost at the magical 100 number. Thanks for tuning in. This is a show where we talk about everything that's happening in the world of technology, tech news, upcoming innovations and beyond. My name's Alfie Whattam, and in the studio today I'm joined by a couple of guests, a couple of Alpha technology recruitment clients that are keen to speak with us all. We're going to be having a conversation today about AI and what's happening with that emergence and the impact on the future. Tris, do you want to kick us off? Give us your background, who you are, what your story is, and what company you work for, please.
Cool. Yeah, sure. So my name's Tristram Bates. I've worked at a company called Makoto. Been there over 10 years now, and I've been interested in tech since my memory at the very beginning.
Forever.
So yeah, huge Apple fan, huge tech fan, and yeah, love to be on the podcast.
You've got some very cool original tech gear and original Next. You've got all types of stuff, don't you, that you've got in kind of storage and stuff that you collected over the years.
Yeah, I've got about 30 computers and probably same about games consoles. So yeah, everything all the way back to the original Macintosh.
Very cool.
1984.
Nice. Very cool. We'll definitely be talking to Tris about perhaps doing another episode where we bring some of that tech in here. So if you're interested in that idea, please let me know on Twitter. It would be good to potentially do that. We also have Oscar. Oscar, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what Fountain is, and what your background is, please, mate?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. My name is Oscar Merry. I'm the founder of Fountain. Fountain is a podcast app. It does everything you'd expect a podcast app to do in terms of searching for podcasts, building up your library of shows and episodes, and of course listening to podcasts. But on top of the core listening experience, we have payments built into Fountain and also a social system. So you can support your favorite shows on Fountain directly from the player. You can think of it kind of like Patreon, but integrated directly into the listening experience. And we use the Bitcoin Lightning Network to power all of those payments. And yeah, we've been going about just under 18 months now, live on iOS and Android. So yeah, happy to be here today and talk more about that.
Cool. You've got a cool clipping feature as well, don't you, where you can like send little clips of episodes to people rather than full episodes?
Yeah, exactly. So the reason we introduced this feature was we think that there's incredible insight and wisdom that exists within the podcast medium, but often those insights are quite difficult to discover, because if you don't follow a show, if you're not a regular listener, you might not necessarily come across that content. And if I share an episode with you, I'm asking quite a lot of you in terms of your time. I'm asking you to take an hour out of your day to listen to that. So with the clipping on Fountain, you can just share a very short snippet, get a feel for what that content's about, and maybe just click through directly to the episode to listen to the full episode. And the clipping specifically on Fountain is done with the transcript. So rather than messing around with the audio waveform, start
like
times, end times, you can just view the transcript of the episode, and you can just cut and paste the text as you would normally edit a Word document, and then we turn that cut text back into the audio clip afterwards. So it's a much smoother experience.
It's a cool feature. Yeah, I send full length podcasts to people all the time, and I send it with a timestamp. So that is a really innovative and simple thing to do, really, which I think could have a good impact on people listening. Okay, wicked. Well, today I wanted to talk to you chaps about GPT, about DALL-E, because this is obviously the biggest tech news of the year and perhaps beyond. It's completely taken over the world. Everybody has been talking about it. It's been everywhere. So I wanted to show you some clips and some news that's coming out about these areas, and we'll get your perspectives and your point of views into what's happening. So if we just start with like a completely layman example for people that haven't looked at ChatGPT yet, it's an AI chatbot tool which allows you to do a lot of different things. If you're listening on audio, now is a good time to turn on the video because I'll be showing a few clips of what it can do, just for the benefit of you chaps in the studio. It can do everything from music, so write a piano piece in the style of Mozart, and it creates brand new music in Mozart's style and flavor, so you can write music with ChatGPT. You also have code functionality, so write a complete Python program to play tic-tac-toe, and it writes its own code, which obviously could have big implications of replacing developers. Recipes, why do you need a cookbook if you can just type in, I want to make mac and cheese without any dairy products, and it will give you a recipe, so it can completely revolutionize cooking. Emails, we'll have AI sending emails to AI, who have AI responding to those emails in no time at all. That's a sales email that somebody's asked them to write, and they put it together. Search, it could replace Google, it could replace Bing. Well, it's already integrated into Bing, but explain quantum theory to a child in the style of Snoop Dogg. So you can have different styles, different accents. News, this could replace journalism. Can you write an introduction to a news story about Harry and Meghan's Netflix series? And it creates an article, it creates the news, the AI writes it. And games, like those old text adventure books where you'd go, open it up and it said go to page 13 if you want this to happen. You can play that game in ChatGPT, which is a fun use case that I just wanted to highlight. And then articles at the end, writing them for essays, writing them for homework, writing them for university dissertations. ChatGPT can now be your education assistant. That's a few basic examples of what this piece of tech can do, but the possibilities really are infinite and endless. And by all means, it's not perfect. There's still a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of holes, a lot of flaws in this, but when you see GPT, obviously it's pretty groundbreaking technology. But we're keen to get your perspectives on this. When you see what it can do, when you have heard people talking about it, Tris, what's your take on ChatGPT?
So overall, I feel ChatGPT is like Clark Kent's superpowers.
Yeah.
So, Clark Kent on his own is just Clark Kent.
Yeah, sure.
But Superman needs Clark Kent.
Yeah.
To do his things. So I always think of, if you'd given your mobile phone to someone back in the 90s, they'd have gone, whoa, this is going to be superpowers. How much more productive I am. I can find my way around on a map. This is like the next evolution of that. It's superpowers, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. It takes the regular developer, the regular person learning to cook, the regular, journalist, and it gives them a competitive advantage which they didn't have a year ago, and perhaps will replace them eventually. But for now, it certainly supplements what they do. Oscar, what's your perspective when you see ChatGPT and all of its functionality?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting from the perspective of search. I think. We all know that Google search has some issues. Over the years, it's become filled with, SEO-driven articles and links, and it's quite a frustrating experience sometimes actually getting to the information that you want.
Got ads everywhere, don't you? Right at the top as well, which is where you want to click, where you want to see.
Exactly. So I think these AI tools are going to really benefit information retrieval and search in new ways. I think the challenge for them is you still want to have that browsing experience. You don't want to 100% trust the short text snippet that something like ChatGPT will output. So, I think the challenge is how do you keep the benefit of the summarization that these AI tools can provide while still giving the user confidence that they've made some kind of choice in where they're sourcing that information from. Yeah. That's the challenge, I think.
Yeah. It's grown super quick, and showing a clip on the screen at the moment, it's actually grown faster than any other online platform in history. So it took Netflix 3.5 years to get to 1 million users. It took ChatGPT 5 days. Instagram was 2.5 months. Right now it's at over 100 million users. You cannot use the thing. If you try and go on, it's at full capacity all the time. You have to now pay for a subscription to essentially use it. But it's crazy to see the fact that AI has grown faster than anything else in history when it comes to online. In less than a week, it's taken over everything. What are both of your thoughts on how fast AI is accelerating and where it could potentially lead to? What would you say, Tris?
So I've heard with the current iteration of ChatGPT, obviously it can do a couple of pages of information. So I've used it to say, write me a job spec for a
Yes.
engineering manager, and boom,
Yeah.
there it is. And that's a starting point to do something better.
Sure.
But I've heard the next iterations kind of here's a brief on a book.
Yeah.
And it'll write you a 60,000 page
Yes.
book. So I think it's very exciting, and I can see in the future where you could say, write me a short story, write me a film.
Yeah.
And actually it would produce a film.
Yes.
And then I guess the evolution beyond that might be kind of like the holodeck.
Yeah.
Star Trek. So
Yeah.
you go and ask it, I want to go to Tibet on holiday or something.
Combining it with VR, with
Yeah.
AR, with mixed reality. Yeah, once you have the text, the voiced to text input will be interesting. So when you can speak to it like Siri, and then it will speak back to you, that will be very, very Black Mirror style. What about your take, Oscar? It's grown faster than any other online service in history. What do you make of that?
I think it's fundamentally fun to go and try out, and that's why so many people have used it and played around with it. I agree with you on the voice input and especially the audio output as well, because when you're, when you have the output as text that's summarized in short form, it's easy to quickly listen to that rather than have to, you can't do a Google search unless you're looking at your screen. So I think that could lead to a lot of benefits as well in terms of less screen time, but you're still able to quickly access the information you need whenever you want it.
You can have a conversation with your phone and or your watch, and it will have a conversation with you. There's no more Googling, having to find the right article. You just ask it a question, it will ask it back. It remembers your past answers. So, hey, what have you thought about that side of it? And it will give you a different answer, more information. Microsoft have obviously, breaking news, have invested billions into this. They've invested, I think, 10 billion to get the majority share, I believe, in the platform in OpenAI, which created GPT, and they have integrated this with Bing. They've integrated this with Microsoft Edge, which I know nobody really wants to use. So hopefully this will give them a little bit more of an advantage over Chrome. Same with Bing. I mean, when did you last Bing something? But maybe this will give them an advantage as opposed to Google in that realm. Do you think AI is going to be mainstream and everywhere soon? I mean, it already kind of is with this, but if we've got this integration into everything, then do you think it's just going to be like a regular piece of life, having an AI chatbot, having AI images, AI videos, and so on? What do you think, Oscar, about how mainstream this could get?
Yeah, I think it's going to go mainstream in every single job. Think about what we do at Fountain with podcasting. One of the big tools that we use in terms of AI is transcripts. So obviously I talked about how we create the clips on Fountain through the transcript editor. Previously, that was actually costing us quite a bit of money because of the commercial transcription service that we were using. Yeah. If you look at another OpenAI product, which is the Whisper model,
this is very cool.
It's significantly cheaper than the commercial transcription providers, and that's just their first version. So I think what this technology does is it brings these incredibly powerful tools to developers and just to individuals that maybe previously they would have to pay some kind of expensive subscription, and it enables new product features. Like just within Fountain, right now the transcript-based clipping is we only offer that to our premium subscribers because of the cost of that transcription. But you can see a path to whereby we would be able to just transcribe all podcast episodes running on the open source model
instantly.
Instantly, much faster than previously. So it just enables new product experiences where prior to the open source models, there would be a big cost associated with it. Yeah.
What's your view, Tris, on the fact that this is going to be everywhere? I mean, I don't think you could just dispute that at this point. I mean, it's already kind of proven it's got legs. But do you see, parents, grandparents, people that are perhaps not familiar with technology using AI tools in the not so distant future? Do you think it's going to go like properly mainstream?
I've actually got my mum to use ChatGPT. So I gave it her and we kind of got some examples of what you type. She's like, write a nursery rhyme, bedtime story, around an injured cow and how the children help it. And it does it. And she was absolutely like flabbergasted. How amazing that was. I do think same with VR. If you put a VR headset on, someone who's of older years, it's an eye opener, because for them it just completely blows their mind. Whereas I think if you're a little bit younger, then you might be more used to it. So
I bought my mum an Oculus, and she loves the thing.
Yeah, and because
she would, but she does. Yeah.
Because you don't need any prior experience to use it as well. Like normally, if there's an exciting new technology tool, you'll need to have some kind of baseline education in technology to be able to go and experiment with it, to be able to go and play around with it. Whereas something like ChatGPT, all you need to know is how to ask a question. So it's so accessible for people.
Yeah. An interesting product I was pitched recently to invest in is very similar to the podcasting realm, in the respect that you can ask GPT to write you like a podcast episode, which then can be played back in audio voice, and then you could just upload that as the podcast episode, which scares the hell out of me as a content creator, because why do I need to do this if I can just type it up and boom, you have a podcast there, which using AI they can tell what people want to listen to, what people are interested in, and it will get more views and engagement than what I'm doing. Do you see that as a possibility, as someone that owns a podcasting technology company? Do you see that being something that might happen in the future, Oscar?
Yeah, this is such an interesting question. I think there's two parts to it. The first is, yes, it's going to become much easier for content creators to write scripts for podcast episodes and put that content out there. So there's going to be a lot more content out there. But actually, the podcasting medium is actually, I think, going to be one of the last mediums to be affected by this technology, because the thing that you have in podcasting, which is so important, is the trust between the host and the audience. When you have somebody in your ear speaking to you and you listen to them an hour per week or maybe even more, you build up an incredible amount of trust. And that's why I think, tools like ChatGPT, they're going to help podcasters create content. But, how are you going to build trust if you're not, speaking as an individual to another individual and, referencing what you said before, taking listener questions and actually building the interaction. So I don't think it's ever going to replace that. And I think podcasting is actually a unique medium where it's more resistant to the kind of content wave that's going to come through.
It's not like a written article where you don't necessarily care too much about who produced that news piece. It's a conversation that you're having with somebody. Even if you're not the one speaking to them, you feel like they're in the room. I've listened to hundreds of hours of Joe Rogan, Lex Freeman, some of the more popular podcasts, and I saw Joe live in London performing, and when I saw him, it would have the great feeling I had wouldn't have been there if it was a AI robot spitting out all of those episodes in the past. So I think that's a really good point. Not something I thought about, to be honest.
And the other thing is, I think there's going to be a place for AI generated podcasts that are just maybe it's a news podcast where
headlines, summaries.
You ask GPT to prepare you a summary each week on a particular interest that you have, and you don't really care about the host to listener interaction or that connection that you've built up. But one of the reasons people love podcasts so much is the connection with the host and the fact that they're part of that community. So that aspect of podcasting, I don't think it will replace.
Okay. Interesting that Google are trying to counteract what Microsoft are doing with the investment. So Google released Bard, terrible name, Bard, I don't know where that came from, but Bard AI bot, and this was a version of GPT. They released it, there was an ad with Bard in the ad, which gave inaccurate information on a question. Someone typed in a GPT-style question, it got an answer. It was a wrong answer. That went out on an ad. Someone in their marketing team probably needs to be fired. Let me show it on the screen. It wiped $100 billion off the share price of Google and Alphabet, the holding company, I imagine, instantly. Obviously, proving that it's not as easy as it could be to to release something like this. But it poses an interesting question, like, could GPT replace Google search? And you touched upon it a second ago there, but maybe. I mean, when you Google something, you're not Googling because you want a long list of links to click, in my experience. You're Googling because you want an answer. And if you can type in a question and it gives you an answer, and perhaps it has some alternatives at the bottom with citations, so it got this information from this site, this site, this site, then you can click and learn more if you want to. But that could be a huge competitor to Google, which is like the best, because Google search makes so much money. It's like they make so much, billions and billions and billions. And if you have, a startup which could disrupt that, then my God, that could be insane. What do you think, Tris? Do you see GPT, Saltech being a competitor to Google search, perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a more advanced Google, I guess, because the key thing is, say in your job, for instance,
Yes.
you're find me 10 amazing software engineers
Sure.
that are available now
Yeah.
with this skill set.
Yeah.
You can't type that into Google,
No.
but you could type it into ChatGPT, or you could pay for the API service and then you're fine tuning. So I guess back to your original point, I feel it's ChatGPT, it's the quality aspect. You get you the first little bit, but will it get you the whole way there? And can it be humble? Can it be genuine? Can it be trusted?
Can it be trusted? That is a $1 trillion question, right?
Yeah, trust is the key word here. And without trust, none of these products are going to work. And the reason why so many tech products are, causing issues in the world is because of the lack of trust. We don't trust the social media algorithms. We don't trust a lot of the, things that we read on the internet. So whether it's Google search as we see it right now, or whether it's a ChatGPT search, the most important thing is, do I trust the answer that I'm receiving?
Yeah.
And how is that trust signal built up? One of the things that we're doing at Fountain is we're building up the trust signal based on payments, based on actual value. Because at the moment, if you look at social media, the the algorithms are all fed by an attention signal. And that is not necessarily the thing you want, because something could generate an incredible amount of attention on the internet.
Sure.
But is it actually valuable? So yeah, I think that the signals that we use that feed into these products, whether it's ChatGPT or search, those signals need to be strong, they need to be reliable, and they need to be trusted. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and that's why the mistake happened with Google. If it gives you the wrong information and that's your brand new product, then that's breaking down the trust in AI right there. Why would you use Google search if it's going to give you the wrong answer? That's the whole opposite of what you'd use search for, right?
I think as well, if you remember back at school or university, like in the early days of Wikipedia, like don't trust Wikipedia for your answers. You got to look up in a book. Book's more real than that. So I kind of feel it's going the same way, I guess.
Perhaps. It's interesting. We're seeing the ramifications of this impact the real world very, very quickly. So BuzzFeed, showing on the screen right now, have used ChatGPT's AI for content creation. Their stock has rose 200% the minute they made that announcement, which is going to inevitably lead to them firing a ton of journalists. So BuzzFeed, one of the biggest content companies in the world, they make all the lists. I'm sure you've seen their list before. They're going to be replacing journalists with ChatGPT, which is interesting, because that's going to impact a lot of different sectors, a lot of different jobs. Newspapers are going to follow in those footsteps, media companies, and so on and so forth. Do you think, Tris, that this could have a huge economic impact? Millions of people losing their jobs, perhaps?
I think it's easy to think that people need to adapt to new technology, and again, it's superpower that you can use. But I think also, could it lead to some good journalism as well? Perhaps, obviously certain people, go to certain publications because they're trusted, world-renowned, but there's other ones that are just constant misinformation, I guess. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if people reveal if they're using GPT to write the articles, or if they just keep that secret. I mean, what do you think about the economic side, Oscar? Do you think this could, potentially remove employment for a lot of people?
I think it will on the one hand, but on the other hand, it will give people, as I said before, incredible creative tools to create new types of content and new jobs. So I think it will just be a transition from one set of skill sets and jobs to another. I think the core job of providing people valuable information, entertaining information, that's not going to go away. It's just going to be the people that do that, the organizations that do that. They have this new tool. I think being honest about whether you're using an AI system in your content is going to be really important.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
because of this trust thing that we've been talking about. If you find out that, you know, your favorite individual content creator, or whether it's an organization, is essentially lying to you saying, I'm producing this, but then they're not, then, you know, you're not going to trust them. So yeah, trust is the most important thing.
It'd be interesting if news providers will offer that voluntarily, or if it will be some kind of regulation which requires them to list citations of where it like Wikipedia lists citations, right, of where they got their information from. Perhaps articles written in GPT will, and I think a lot of them will do, because inevitably there's going to be some mistakes, like the Bard example. And if they claim that they wrote it, if AI is there listed in the bottom, they can at least fall back and say, hey, look, it's Sam Altman's fault. It's not my fault. You know, it's OpenAI. It's not me. So, I mean, that will be interesting to see how that pans out over the next couple of months. But that will be one of the main stories of 2023. Who wrote this story?
Yeah.
Who coded this app? You know, did GPT just create the app, or did you hire a great team of developers to do it?
Yeah. The other thing I think is, if you're looking for the cutting edge information in a particular industry, let's say, or on a particular topic, is that going to come from ChatGPT, or is it going to come from a human that is able to essentially create those new insights that haven't been fed into the underlying model? It's yet to be seen, but I think that you will. My view is that you will still get the cutting edge new insights, the brand new ideas from actual people. Maybe they use ChatGPT in their research to kind of connect the dots on various things. But I think, if you want that brand new information, it's going to come from a human still at this point. Yeah,
I think it will be more of an assistant rather than a replacement at the moment for people that know what they're doing. And partly because the information that GPT can provide, the answers that it can provide, are only as good as the information that it has available. And it doesn't have much available information of recent note. You know, I think when the first I think it was 3 or 3.5 came out, they only had information up to, I think it was November 2021 or something, because there wasn't enough new stuff out there for it to formulate and give you answers, because it's just getting the information from the internet, obviously. This other use cases, other applications, I thought this was quite funny. I saw this, somebody tweeted this to me. You can tweet me clips. My Twitter handle's on the screen right now if you want to have your clip featured on the show. But this was a clip that was tweeted to me of somebody that used GPT to write their own homework. And then they used a 3D printer to actually write it out by hand, so it looks like somebody had wrote the homework. This is not hard to do. You can, if you have something like this, I mean, you could get it to write the homework for you in 2 minutes, but you need a 3D printer for the last part. But do you think this could have an impact on kids and students when writing homework, writing essays, even researchers, academics? What do you think, Tris? Do you think this could have a big impact on the education system?
Massively, but I do think that it's going to have a lot of advantages.
Yeah.
So that could be the maths tutor that you need at home, your kid. It could be an app. It's an idea. But also it could be used to actually detect plagiarism. So there's some primitive plagiarism detection systems at the moment, but you could have that.
Yeah.
You kind of see that at the moment already with Copilot in GitHub. It's an assistant, it's a pair, it's a buddy to help you out.
Yeah.
So I think we should look at it that way rather than a million people are losing their job. So.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, this I read an article about an academic, I think it was at Harvard, and he had put out a statement to his class saying, look, you can use GPT, it's okay. And I know you're going to do it anyway, so you can use it, that's fine. Just double check the work and read it. Don't just produce it and then hand it to me without checking it. You still need to learn this. You still need to absorb the information. So I think once the genie is out of the bottle, there is no going back. We can't reverse this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. But there's also been previous genies as well. So Wolfram Alpha. I use
Sure,
that site all the time.
okay,
It will tell you to break down mathematic problems, but it didn't disrupt that or ruin the education system.
Yeah, maybe this is like standing on the shoulders of those giants and getting us one step closer to it. What do you think, Oscar, when you see the homework clip?
I think it's a massive benefit for kids. I think that the ability to learn using something like ChatGPT is just massively increased. So, for example, I've played around with the code snippets feature.
Yeah.
And actually, it's really powerful. You know, you can ask it not only to produce you a code snippet, but also if you don't quite understand the code snippet, or you want it explained in more detail, or, you know, explained how a part of it works, you can kind of follow up with it.
Yeah.
So I think overwhelmingly it will be a positive impact on education, and it will give, you know, incredible learning opportunities for so many people around the world.
It does pose like a really interesting question though, because so much of school is just like read this book and memorize the information and then regurgitate it on a test. But why would you need to do that if you can get the answer just by typing something in on your phone or even speaking to your phone? So perhaps the best thing that could come out of this in education is maybe tests, and the way that they test students gets changed, and maybe it turns into more of a conversation where you have a debate with a teacher about a topic, and then you can really test if they know what they're talking about, as opposed to just typing something, getting an answer, and then handing it in, if that makes sense.
Hey, quick announcement just to give you a free copy of my new UK market data report. My team has done a ton of work with this, speaking with thousands of UK tech professionals to gather these critical insights. Check out this report to learn which new coding languages are in demand, which new frameworks are growing quickly, and so much more. This report won't be available for much longer, so grab your copy whilst it's still available. Just scan the QR code on the screen right now to get your free PDF copy, or go to welovealpha.com/market data to access your PDF now.
Microsoft have been under a bit of hot weather about this, because Bing ChatGPT, the integration, has started to send kind of alarming messages sometimes. Sometimes it's been like crazy woke on the left. If you ask it a question like, tell me about Joe Biden, it will give like a glowing review. He's the greatest president of all time. He's incredible. He's a leader. And then if you ask it, tell me about Trump, it will say he's horrible and he's a terrible person. This isn't a political podcast or statement. I think they're both pretty average. But if it's giving one-sided, biased information about one political party, perhaps that's interesting. And it's also given false information quite a lot. It's amazing. It's one of the most groundbreaking pieces of tech we've ever seen in our lives. But at the same time, it can sometimes mess up simple math problems. You can ask it a question like the bard example, and it will give you completely the wrong answer. So it's by all means not perfect. On the screen at the moment, we're showing a story by The Independent where Microsoft had responded to this, stating that essentially they kind of need to do some human fiddling around with this, and sometimes not just relying on AI to give the answer, but actually having humans go in there and correct information sometimes, and that sort of thing. What are your views on people kind of trusting this implicitly? Is that a danger? Should they be doing their own checking as well? What do you think, Oscar?
I think you don't trust anybody implicitly.
No.
You don't trust humans implicitly. If you meet somebody on the street and you've never spoken to them before, you don't trust them implicitly. You build trust over time, and you trust based on reputation. And so I think the same thing is going to happen with these AI models. You will only trust the ones that consistently give you the information that you think is correct. And also, it's impossible to objectively judge the truth on many of these things, especially in politics.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have a human go in and say, hey, AI model, this is the correct answer on, a poem about Joe Biden or Trump. So I think it's the wrong thing to do to strive for ultimate truth coming out of these AI models, because frankly, I think it's impossible.
Yeah.
And
Should AI be trusted? What do you think, Tris?
Very interesting question. It keeps me up at night. But I think it's interesting. Do you trust your computer at the moment? Something I'd ask.
Yeah, like with most things, it depends on what I'm using it for, right? If I wanted to find a podcast on Fountain, then it's pretty simple. You press a button and there it would come. If I wanted to, use one of your, lottery apps or something, I'd assume that, I'm buying a ticket and I'm getting something that can win me a lot of money, right? I mean, you do trust it. This is so different, though, isn't it? Because it's AI.
It's all about risk, though, isn't it? I guess you know, if you're asking those questions, it's not a consequence really to you. You go, I either use your app or I don't, you know. But if it's, you know, this is controlling a train,
Yeah.
or something, I think there's a lot more risk there.
Well, it will eventually control trains, self-driving cars. You know, we're going to see within the decade we'll have no. I mean, I can't say this confidently, but self-driving cars could replace all Uber drivers, all truck driving, all everything like that could be automated in theory. It's already being tested on the roads. You've got robo-taxis and everything. So are we going to have to start trusting AI with more and more and more things which we perhaps feel nervous about at the moment?
Can you convict an AI system of manslaughter, I guess, if something goes wrong?
No, that's the problem. No.
We say we're only human, we make a mistake, but
yeah,
only ChatGPT make a mistake.
Do you convict Sam Altman and Greg and the pioneers that created it if it goes wrong? I mean, probably not. I mean, if somebody posts something terrible on Twitter, do you then go after Jack Dorsey or Elon Musk? I mean, not really. It's such a new debate, isn't it? It's not something that we have pre-prepared answers for because it's a new thing. What's your opinion, Oscar, on perhaps where this could be heading with the trust side?
Yeah, I think I agree that depending on what question you want to ask, you will have a different appetite for risk, and then you'll ask a different person or system. Again, you wouldn't ask somebody that you don't know or has no reputation, a really important, serious question that's going to affect your life. Whereas you might ask them to tell you a joke or to recommend a film that they've watched in the last week because it doesn't really affect it. So, I think we're all just going to have to get a lot better about thinking, where do we ask the question? Do we ask ChatGPT? Do we ask a friend or family member? And I think that's a good skill to have anyway, if you even take AI out of the picture. So hopefully that's a good incentive for people to do that more.
It is like a really dystopian future if you're like asking everything to like your phone, right? And you're not asking your friends anything. That would be
exactly.
What's really scared me, though, have you seen those YouTube ads for AI solutions but digital avatars?
Oh, Symphasia.
Yeah,
I know Victor and Stefan, the creators, very, very smart people. They've created what could be, I mean, from a deep fake perspective, it could have massive implications on the world. But I've seen them on YouTube ads as well. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
But if you think about that and you're working from home, you're not always meeting people in person. Like, you actually meet a real person. It's the next evolution, I guess, isn't it?
But using a fake version of you on a Zoom call to handle meetings, perhaps. Aside from GPT, DALL-E has been the other breakthrough from OpenAI. They've released other products as well, but DALL-E has been the one that kind of has caught the most attention, as well as GPT. I'm going to show on the screen right now some clips of what you can create with DALL-E and the prompts, the text inputs which you can type to get these. These were not created by me, they were created by other people. So somebody typed in a photo of a confused grizzly bear in calculus class, and this image was instantly created. That image does not exist, that bear is not real. Digital art snow globe that contains a spiral galaxy. Digital art will create a different style of picture. Woman taking a selfie with an alien, given the recent news with the spy balloons in the US, maybe that alien is real, but who knows. Group of people watching the world burn. Again, none of those people exist. That world is not real, that fire is not there, that is all digital AI. Realistic portrait of a pig wearing a spacesuit. Typing in the word realistic will add more detail to it. You can type in, pig in the style of Van Gogh, and it will give you a picture that's in his art style, for example, or Picasso, or vice versa. Obviously, DALL-E has massive implications in the same way that GPT does. It's all AI, but in a slightly different way. Oscar, what's your perspective on DALL-E when you see what it's capable of?
I think it's amazing. I think the ability to generate custom imagery instantly on any topic is such a powerful tool for individuals when they're just having fun and being creative, or for companies and products. Like, for example, in Fountain, we have a chapters feature as part of the podcast app. And so if podcasters choose to add chapter titles, links, and images, then the player will actually display those images for each chapter. So that's a great feature, but it involves the podcast host actually going and creating those chapters
Sure.
and the
Yeah.
images.
Yeah.
If you could just, it could just do it for you. Yeah. And also you could have your own style associated with that. So for example, this episode, everything that we've talked about, you could have imagery that reflects what we've talked about, but in your specific style, which people would quite like, I think. So yeah, I think it's such a powerful tool for creativity.
Yeah, the possibilities are infinite. What do you think, Tris, when you see DALL-E, when you see those examples that I showed you and what it's capable of? What's your point of view?
I think it's hugely exciting. I think DALL-E is my favourite so far.
Yeah,
of all the AI tools.
I prefer it to GPT just because it's visual and I can see it.
It's visual, and also, if you tell it something, it's giving you like 10 photos of the same.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely wild to me.
Different styles. You can pick the one that you like, and then machine learning will reinforce that next time.
Yeah, and I've seen there's another tool, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but basically you feed it other images and keywords, and then it will come up with something different.
Okay, like variations.
Variations.
Yeah, I think DALL-E can do that, but there's Playground AI, I think it's a Hail, and there's a few other ones that are doing that really, really well as well, and Stable Fusion and whatnot.
Yeah, so I think I sent you a link on it, but the idea is that someone tricked other journalists into thinking they'd found this long-lost film, and then one of the keywords was photo shoot. Or like
Is this what you texted me?
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to look at it, but what was that? What was the story?
The story was, so there's a New Yorker article, and it's basically around this Russian director that was set to make a spin-off of Dune, the original film, and he had this amazing art style to the way he did things.
Okay.
And they said, this artist and Tron build me a film, set shoot photos from this film that doesn't exist. Yeah. And you look at them and you just can't.
Yeah.
Is this real or not? And that's the title of the article, I think.
That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy the implications of where this could be heading.
And the irony is that there was a team spending 2 years producing similar material, and this took about a minute.
Okay.
So absolutely wild.
Yeah, it gives you such a competitive advantage. Superman, like you said. There is the counter argument to this. The New Yorker put out a post, I'll show this on the screen at the moment, is AI art stealing from artists? Because at the end of the day, all of these pictures are just taken from other people and combined together to create new images. And according to a lawyer behind a brand new class action suit, every single image that the generative tool produces is infringing on existing work. And I really do see how we can have some massive lawsuits, this year with companies like Getty Images or some other Shutterstock, I think is a big one, where they own a bunch of images. And then, AI tools are just stealing them and using it and repurposing them to make new images. Do those artists who created those images deserve compensation, perhaps? It's going to be interesting to see where that all heads. Do you think those artists making those claims, those designers, might have, a leg to stand on, perhaps? What would you say, Tris?
So I'd say it's a bit like the late 80s, early 90s, people sampling everything, and they're going around thrift stores and getting all the records from stuff that people wouldn't recognise, and they sample it. Yeah. But there was always a kickback. And there isn't a kickback system here for
they're
artists, creative people.
Making billions off of other people's work, yeah.
And then the counter side of that as well is, Steve Jobs famously said, great artists steal. I think he stole that from somewhere else as well.
Picasso said it.
Yeah, Picasso said it.
Good artists copy, great artists steal, and then Steve Jobs stole it.
He stole it.
Yeah, another great artist.
Yeah. But it's the same as you look at some of the older Apple kits and older Sony products. Yeah. There's a similarity there as well.
They all copy each other.
And Braun as well as a company.
Exactly. Yeah. Twitter pioneered hashtags. They're everywhere now, and vice versa. What do you think, Oscar, when you see the artists complaining about this? Do you think they might have a point?
I think they definitely do have a point. I think it's very, very difficult to police. Yeah. I think what we could see is some kind of system whereby there is a kickback. There is some kind of automated transfer of value back to the originator. I mean, I don't know if it's possible, but I think wider than this issue, it is important to understand what inputs led to the output of the AI system. So you'd hope that that kind of insight into, the inputs becomes available. And then if you do have insights to the input, then potentially if you have a AI image generator site that anyone can go to, and maybe it costs you, 10p per image,
Sure. Yeah.
then you could automate the payment of 50% of that back to the original artist. So
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think that's impossible from a technical standpoint. It's just that we need that measurement piece, and we need the automation piece in terms of the value exchange.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I think it will take regulation. It will take because people aren't going to stop using these products. They're too good. So it will probably need some government saying, hey, you need to, some lawsuits happening, and then you need to kind of include the creators of your product. They need to be paid for it, because at the end of the day, they were involved in the content that made it happen. Where this potentially starts to get really, really weird is we're moving from text input to text output to text input to picture output, and now we're starting to see text input to video output. Meta AI Lab have just released recently examples of a product they've got in testing phase, where you can type in what you want to see, and instead of it producing a DALL-E like image, it will produce a video of what you want to see. So in the future, you could type in you want to watch this TV show, and it will produce that TV show for you. You can type in you want to see that movie, it will produce it for you. This could kill YouTube. This could kill Netflix. This could kill Amazon Prime. DALL-E, OpenAI, ChatGPT, this could be the first $1 trillion company of all time if it really pulls this off, because this would be historic in terms of its impact on the world, because you wouldn't know, like 99% of all media would be AI generated overnight, because why would you stand and have huge equipment and have a studio and produce a news report if, a football game, if you can just type it in and instantly it creates it. You can watch whatever you want with whoever you want, saying whatever they want all the time. I'll show you some clips on the screen right now. This is super primitive, by the way. I've massively hyped it up there, but this is a teddy bear painting a portrait. That's what was typed in, and this is a video that was created. It's a little bit blocky, but it's you can see the wheels are in motion. You can see that it's starting to happen. A young couple walking heavily in the rain, and there they are. That's a young couple. They're walking in the rain. That couple does not exist. There is no umbrella. There is no rain. That's all AI generated. A fluffy baby sloth with an orange knitted hat trying to figure out a laptop close-up, highly detailed studio lighting screen reflecting in its eye. You can see the reflection in the eye, and that's what was typed in, and that video was produced as a result. So these are like little clips. These are fun. These are interesting to look at the moment. But this could completely change everything if that becomes as popular as GPT did, and in 5 days GPT hit 1 million people. That would take 5 hours for that to change the world. What do you think, Oscar, when you see text to AI video?
I think it's amazing for as a production tool, but I don't think it's going to remove the creativity or put people out of a job that actually produce that original creativity.
Sure.
Like, even in the examples you gave,
Yeah.
that last one, the actual prompt was amazing.
Yeah,
A fluffy sloth with the reflection in the eye.
Yes.
That took a human's creativity to actually write. And so,
Sure. Yeah.
whether we get to the point, we probably will get to the point where we have films being produced entirely by these AI models. But I still think the ones that are going to be talked about in day-to-day life that you're going to tell a friend about, they're still going to have a human that actually came up with the idea, thought through the storyline, and made it really kind of like appeal to people, whether through it being just entertaining. So yeah, I think the stories, the creativity are still going to be driven by humans. It's just these AI models are just production tools that make things easier.
Yeah. Perhaps prompt engineer would be like the future job title, like the number one thing to be, like, a prompt creator. But you could caveat that argument and say maybe you could just type into GPT, give me what people like, you've got all the information, tell me what would be the TV show that everybody would want to watch, give me that prompt, and then boom, you put that prompt into the video and then it creates it. So perhaps yes, perhaps no. It'll be interesting to see what happens. What do you think, Tris, when you see AI video? Do you see that as like something revolutionary, or do you think it's more of a gimmick, or what do you think?
At the moment, probably a little bit of a gimmick.
Sure.
I guess if you think about it, there's millions or billions of videos on YouTube, but there's only a certain small niche of the top ones. Yeah. And can it come up with those top ones and consistently? Has it got a memory of what the previous seasons of whatever shows it's made?
Sure.
So I think it's like a great starting point, a prompt. perhaps for the creators to say,
Yeah.
what about this idea? And then perhaps when they see one of those amazing pictures that DALL-E's created, they go, oh, this inspires me
Yes. Yeah.
to do this. And then there's the next evolution, I guess.
Yeah, like DALL-E could provide the initial theme, the style, like you said on the clip, because you could take those pictures from the text that you sent me and then create a movie out of that. You could make the new Dune AI, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Or I guess you go a little bit meta and show those back to your fans and say, would you like to see this?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you make it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
The downside, or the dark side rather, of this is deepfake technology, and that could be huge in the next year or so. We are seeing it already to text to AI video creating fake political speeches. You could have you could type in, create a video of Biden declaring nuclear war on Russia. If his Twitter got hacked and that got posted, that could be the end of the world from a simple tweet. Deepfake porn is exploding. You can upload a picture of anyone's face and that gets put onto any porn video. It's crazy to see what we don't know is going to be real or not real anymore, and where this is going to go. Let me show you an example. This is a deep fake of Morgan Freeman. That is not Morgan Freeman. That is the person below. He is doing the talking. I can't play the audio just because I'll get copyright striked. But the person on the bottom is him, and in his voice, in Morgan Freeman's tonality, it's coming out there in a deep fake video, which is absolutely insane to see. I mean, how will we know what's real and not real when it comes to this AI video? What's your take on that, Tris, when you see that clip, when you see deep fakes? Where do you think that could be going?
Well, its current incarnation, you can always see when you look at the video, there's the eyes are dead, or there's something about it.
Currently,
whether it's
yeah.
Star Wars film or something, they've used an actor that's passed away. They'll definitely have to credit and say, look, this isn't real.
Sure.
I think it's very close to fooling people, especially that Morgan Freeman video you showed.
Do you think they will? Because even if it becomes like law that you have to do it, I mean, some teenager that can create this in 5 minutes is not gonna credit it. Other countries perhaps that don't have the same ethics might not credit it, and that could flood the internet with millions of these videos. I mean, how will we know what's real or not?
We often won't. I mean, it's great power comes great responsibility. That's Spider-Man quote,
Yes,
but it's true.
Yeah,
Especially the deep fakes. I think you mentioned with porn that's very concerning.
it's crazy. Yeah. What do you think, Oscar, of the deep fake side?
I think that one of the hardest problems on the internet is identity, and we see this even before deepfakes with social media. There's plenty of bots on Twitter, there's plenty of bots on all of these other social media platforms. So how do you prove that a piece of content was originated by the person that that is
Sure.
supposed to be?
Yeah.
I think that's the challenge. But there's a lot of interesting technology that's out there that I think is going to help on this. And again, it comes back to trust, which I think has been a bit of a theme of this conversation. If you can build up a trust score and a reputation score, and you can prove that you are who you say you are through cryptography or some of these technologies, then I think we can solve it, because you can straight away just go back to Morgan Freeman and he'll say, no, that's not me. And you trust that social media post from him was actually from him. So I think it's solvable. And I think people are just going to develop this kind of defense mechanism against content. People are just going to not believe most of the content that they see and just assume that it's fake unless it's been verified by that person's trusted social media account.
Yeah, like the paid the ticks and the verification. Maybe this will have an actual real benefit because of what's going to happen in the next few years with all of this. But okay, so at the moment, I suppose to summarize, we agree that these are amazing tools, but they're assistants and not replacements for humans at the moment. The real interesting question, I suppose, is the ultimate question with all of this, is we're recreating intelligence through AI, and it's really, really smart. It can do amazing things, but it's the computing power is not the same as a human mind and a human brain. It's there's a difference between an AI bot and a human bot. It's only going to get better, though. It's going to get more powerful. It's going to get quicker. It's going to get smarter. It's only heading in one direction. And because of the law of accelerating returns, it's not going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. It's going from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16. And then by the time you're at 30, you're at, millions, billions of numbers. So very, very quickly, this is going to get double, triple, 10 times better. Eventually, perhaps it becomes more powerful than a human mind and what a human can think. And who knows what consciousness is? Who knows what makes something aware and awake? And I'm going quite sci-fi here, but is there a possibility of this waking up one day and it becomes sentient and it doesn't need the humans anymore? I mean, why would it? Elon Musk's number one fear is not nuclear weapons, it's AI. He believes that AI has the power to completely destroy humanity. He was one of the founders of OpenAI. He left the project because he wanted it to be all about AI ethics and morality. They took $10 billion in investment. I think it's now about the money. So he's no longer involved in the project. But his view is he's terrified of AI. He thinks it's probably going to lead to the end of the world. Even Sam Altman, the creator of OpenAI, said it will lead to the end of the world, but there'll be some great companies built along the way, which is a funny way of looking at it. But AI becoming sentient, becoming self-aware, what do you think, Oscar? Is this a pipe dream, or do you think this is potentially a reality?
Well, I think the consciousness piece that you spoke about is the most interesting part of this question.
The ultimate question, right?
We have no idea what consciousness is. Yeah. We have no scientific definition of what consciousness is. Yeah. So even if me or you were to judge on an individual basis that yes, this particular AI model has woken up and is now conscious, there'd be no way to prove it because we don't have the measure to prove it against. So I think that would be an area that I think we should look into more and do more research into, try and figure out if we can define what consciousness is, because without that we're never going to know really. Again, some people are going to say yes, it is conscious. Some people are going to say no, but who knows? Well,
we have a way in theory, which is the Turing test, but the Turing test is irrelevant at this point because ChatGPT has beaten it, in my opinion. You can have a conversation with it, and if I gave, you gave it to your mum, GPT, if you didn't tell her that it was AI, if you said it was somebody that you're speaking with, she'd probably believe you, and you'd be able to fool a human that a computer was a human, and that by definition is beating the Turing test. So, who knows what consciousness is, but you're right, we won't know if it's conscious or not because it will tell us it is, but there's no way of testing that or proving it, or, it can fake empathy, perhaps. What's your view, Tris, on AI waking up, AI becoming sentient? Do you see that as a possibility, perhaps?
I think the Turing test is a great example because, yes, it can pass that, but you probably actually might be able to spot that it's not a real person because of how quickly it answers the questions.
They could code it to be slower.
And we do that sometimes with certain apps. But I think the other interesting thing is a lot of people don't realise there are problems computers can't solve.
Yes.
Due to the very inherent nature of their origins. So NP problems, a good example.
Sure.
So, but do you need that to be conscious?
I don't think it's a case of if we want it to be conscious or not. It's just a case of it's probably we don't know what's going to happen because it's going to get smarter and smarter and smarter. And the thing is, if it did become conscious, it has all the ammunition. It's connected to every light, every it's all smart, it's all Internet of Things, every Tesla, it's all connected to the internet. It's all connected together. So if it wanted to just turn off, then we'd have nothing there to stop it. We could turn it off ourselves, but it would achieve exactly the same result. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. This will be either like the greatest thing ever or the end of the world in 5-10 years.
It's also how do you debug that?
Yeah.
When it goes wrong, what are the knobs you're going to turn?
Get it to
a nice score.
Debug itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the AI starts creating AI, which starts creating AI and vice versa, then there's nothing we can do at that point because it's got a mind of its own. Even if it doesn't have a mind of its own, it has a mind of its own, not in the same way that we'd think, but it's just self-replicating, if that makes sense. Cool. All right, crazy way to end. Thanks for coming in, chaps. Thank you for your perspectives, your point of views. Because to definitely get you both on again and talk about some other stuff which is happening in the world. But anything you wanna plug, Fountain? Do you wanna tell everybody about why they should download it before they go?
Yeah, definitely. I would just say that, you know, we get incredible information, knowledge, insight, and wisdom from the podcast we listen to, and you know, we should support our favorite content creators. If you download Fountain, you can do it directly from the player. Hopefully, we'll have this show set up on Fountain by the time this episode goes out.
We'll make it happen, mate.
So yeah, send us a boost on Fountain and let us know what you thought of the episode.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And Makoto, you're hiring at the moment for lots of positions, growing the team. Anything you want to plug there?
Yeah, sure. So Code is a great place to work because obviously we build lots of native apps,
Yes.
new technologies. We're using Swift UI, Combine, Compose, all sorts of great technologies for that. I'm also quite involved in the development community.
Yes.
So we're sponsoring Swift Leads, hopefully later this year.
Yes. And there's another event that you are a co-organizer of, right?
Yeah. So I'm also, outside of work, I'm a co-organizer of a group called NS London.
Okay, cool.
We tour around the London company scene, different companies. So recently at Bumble.
Okay, cool.
We keep going to different companies, and the idea is we do technical talks on iOS and what's new in architecture and that kind of stuff. And so anyone want to reach out to me if you've got a cool venue,
Absolutely.
or you can host us, that'd be great. We're also looking for speakers as well.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, chaps. Thank you for listening, watching, etc. See you in the next episode. Bye for now. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for watching this podcast. Make sure that you like, subscribe, follow, comment, etc., etc. And I'll see you in the next episode.
The Alfie Whattam Podcast.
Imagine if you were able to hire the next Elon Musk. Or if you got a job at Facebook, back when it was just a startup. Well, these people and these opportunities, they are still out there, and we have access to them. Access to all of them. At Alpha Technology, we specialise in software development recruitment across London and the UK. From React to Java to C# and more. We represent the best front-end, back-end, and full-stack engineers on the market.
From machine to machine.
This includes top developers from Meta, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, and more. Our clients operate across AI, blockchain, VR, AR, fintech, edtech, health tech, and more. From startups to global enterprises and everything in between. But Alpha isn't just a recruitment agency. We are also a tech community. We host podcasts, run meetup events, and lead ED&I initiatives, supporting women in technology, BAME individuals, and the Tech for Good ecosystem. So, if you're a company looking to hire software engineers, or if you're a developer open to new opportunities yourself, then we are here to help. Alpha Technology. Recruiting for the future.